town. I was living in Devil Town. I didn't know it was Devil Town. Oh Lord, it really brings me down about the Devil Town. All my friends were vampires. I didn't know they were vampires. Turns out.
So I first came to the United States when I was in first grade. I came with both of my older brothers, and while my parents both stayed behind in Korea so that they could support us financially. My dad would always threaten us with money that he would give, and that's when my mom told me that I would have to study so that I could get a good job. In high school, my mom had to leave me for months at a time so that she could go help my dad. If not, then our financial stability would have been affected. And because we were immigrants, it was unavoidable. Mom or my whole family wasn't together made me feel incomplete, a little sad that I couldn't have the same thing. Well, my dad and my mom have always had this expectation of me that I would become a lawyer.
Do you think that because of your race that they have different expectations than other kids that like you went to school with in grade school and middle school?
Because they are Asian and they're Korean, I've had the expectation to be a lawyer or a doctor because in our society, that sort of job gives a higher social status for that family.
So you feel like because he wants you to do that, you have to?
Yeah.
So I was born in Yakima, which, I mean, there's a lot of, it's a Latino like a big Latino population, and I had immigrant parents and family, and a lot of them didn't know English at the time, so growing up, I never knew there was another language until I moved to Federal Way. It was just hard trying to catch up with the other kids because a lot of them already knew how to read, and I mean, English was their first language, and obviously I had to learn English before I even started learning what the other kids were learning, so that was pretty difficult. So, my stepdad was deported when I was 11 years old, and it was a very difficult time for my family because my little brother and sister were really little, and my brother was really attached to him, so when he was gone, my mom had to struggle and work extra shifts just so she can make ends meet, and I mean, trying to sustain us with one job while it used to be two people. After he got deported, he actually came back, and he got caught again at work, and so he was in jail, but it was during the process, and I ran into someone else that I knew in school, and I didn't think much of it, and then at school I was talking about it, and then she pulled me aside, and she kind of was saying, you should just say he's in jail, not that he's going through the process of immigration and about to be deported, because that's embarrassing. And it kind of caught me off guard, because I didn't know that that was something that should be like put under the rug, not let people know. I always took school really seriously, and I always strive to get the best grades possible. And middle school, you're trying to fit in with people, and a lot of the times I had a couple of friends who were Mexican like I was, and they all of a sudden dropped and stopped talking to me, and I asked them why, and they said I wasn't like acting like their kind, and I tried to explain what they meant by that, and they said that I took school too seriously and I wasn't gangster enough, and saying that I was such a nerd, and that they didn't understand why I was taking school so seriously, and I was so stuck up about it.
Do you think that was a stereotype that they had in their minds that they felt like they had to fulfill?
Yeah, they just kept with how, like, Mexicans aren't good at school, so I'm not going to be good at school. And
So, I kind of figured out that, like, girls when I was maybe 14 or so, there was some girl I knew who I knew she liked girls, and so I was kind of like, oh, you know. So I went to my mom thinking, oh, this is going to be great. She's going to be so understanding. And I said, hey, Mom, I think I might be bisexual. I like girls. And she turned to me, and she kind of looked at me, and she was like, well, are you sure about that? How do you know? And basically spent the rest of the evening trying to convince me that my feelings were just because I didn't have enough girlfriends and that I was lonely and needed more friends. So that conversation basically solidified my decision to not act gay at all for several years. I didn't ever think about it again until I went to college. So when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, which was actually a really fun time because I was dating a boy at the time, so no one really knew like that I liked girls or anything. But because they didn't know it, I heard some things that kind of made me upset. There was one girl on the team that people thought might like girls, and so they were kind of like, oh, I don't want to sleep with her, like, she like grabs my boob or something, like, just really dumb stuff like that, like. And I remember I was just sitting there, and I was like, with the full knowledge, like, I like girls and they don't know. I actually kind of felt left out a lot, so that kind of made it more so I felt left out, I guess, separated us a little further. I'm dating Andrea, who is a trans woman, so my mom often says some kind of offhanded comments, which is, I guess, is kind of expected because people don't really know much about trans people, but one that she says that really bothers me is that she might leave me for a man someday because that would actually make her feel like a real woman, and that, like, I can't do that myself because I'm a girl or something, because I'm shorter than her.
So I guess I should say that I'm transgender. I guess the stereotypical things I should say are that my name used to be Andrew, now it's Andrea. I transitioned about 10 months ago. I started hormones. I've been living full-time as a female since November of this year. You know you're transgender and you look online for what that means, and you see this person was beaten to death and this person got fired for being transgender, and you know, you just go, I don't want to be that person because that seems like that sucks. I didn't want to believe that there was someone who was willing to accept me because I didn't think anyone was. I didn't think anyone was going to accept me after I came out. I thought I'd lose most of my friends. I thought there were family members who weren't going to continue talking to me. And it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I had just worked it up so much in my mind because there was no template for success. There was no, no friends or family I had ever heard say anything positive about a transgender person. Whenever they talked about trans people, it was either that they were weird or that they were sad. And, I didn't feel like either of those really fit me. It was weird to have people just look at me like they were disgusted by me every time I left the house. And I'd walk around holding hands with my girlfriend, and eventually they'd start looking at us strange for holding hands. And not just because I was out of the house, and, that was definitely like a big step forward is, they're discriminating against me because I'm a lesbian, not because they know I'm trans. So, since I've been taking hormones, I felt a lot of inner peace. Like, before I started hormones, I didn't know it wasn't normal to have suicidal thoughts constantly. Once I started hormones, I just had a big sense of inner peace. I feel like my body just isn't meant to run on testosterone. It really feels much better when I'm just taking estrogen. I like myself for the first time in my entire life. I feel much more comfortable in my body. Depression and anxiety have gone down just a ton, and it's been just incredible.
What do you want to say to people who don't really understand or even really know what a transgender person really is?
So I just want people to know, like, we're normal people like everyone else, and a lot of us have had difficult lives, some much more difficult than me, and we're just treat us with like the gender we present as. If you see someone who's trying to present as a female, call them a girl. They are a girl. There's no need to debate them on the subject.